Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I am back with a review. Today we are reviewing a movie that is called Alice. It's a 2022 once again movie, or rather, it's a 2022 movie that we know that previously we have reviewed a movie of 2022. So also even this one is a 22 movie. It's called Alice, as I already said. It's acted by a girl who's called Keke Palmer. She was the one who was acting as Alice. Other cast members, maybe the most familiar face is Common, who's acting as Frank, and also another person who's acting here is Johnny Lee Miller, who was acting as Paul, or rather the racist guy who was a slave master in a movie, and also another person who was his sort of ex-wife was Alicia Witt, acting as Rachel. And also another person that played a role was sort of a husband of Alice, who was acting as Joseph. His real name is Gaius Charles. So those are the main actors that played a role in this movie. Others were just extras, or rather people that were not really of importance in the movie. So guys, just deep diving into the movie. This movie, it started as a movie that was acting as if it's way back when in America, in Georgia, there was slavery. It sort of started like that. While it was in this house where the slave master, who was Paul, was having these people around, which are black people, which were saving him, being beaten up, working in the forest, doing everything that he basically need. Even Alice was one of the people that was working for him. She was sort of a maid, or a housekeeper, who was also being a person who was taking care of also the child. She was also working with another older woman who we didn't really get to see her play a important role in the movie, but she was also being assisted by another older woman in the house. But as a lady that was still very young, Paul used to also uh, do some crazy things with her, and honestly speaking, it was very much abusive towards her. Everything that he needed, he was just getting it by force from her, and she was not really happy because in the beginning we also see her getting sort of married behind closed doors with Joseph, in which Joseph was also very eager to want to get out of the house and go and see the outside, or rather run away. And we see this by him asking another older man to say that, have you ever thought of trying to run away? And that older man was just like, you know what, my man, I thought about that long time ago, but I never got to have the guts to do it. Then I just end up just giving up of even thinking about it, to show how much these people have been brainwashed. They didn't even want to run just to be able to see the other side. Even maybe try to run midnight, they didn't even bother. And it was a very big surprise that these people that were being holded, there were more than 10 in one house, but neither of them have even decided to fight back to the master, which the master was also having another guy who he was guarding all these slaves with, or rather these people with, which were being made slaves by this guy Paul. So Paul was a person who obviously he was always having guns, beating people around. If you just look sideways or you just try to move to where you were stationed, he will beat you up. We see that when he was doing that to Joseph, in which Paul already suspected that it seems like there is something going on between Joseph and Alice, in which he really, really didn't like it. He despised it because he wanted to have Alice by force. And he was even telling Alice that, you know what, I was beginning to like you, but please, we all know you can't say that you like a person while you are busy abusing them, when you are busy making sure that they are being abused, while there was a whole world that people are living peacefully outside. So for the fact that people were living peacefully outside, we then find out when Alice decided to run, and she decided to run after she saw that Joseph was shot, in which Joseph got shot while he was also trying to also fight for himself to try to run away, in which it didn't work for Joseph. But Alice did succeed on running away, and she did stab Paul in the eye with a glass, in which it was after she was also being abused by Paul. So she stabbed him in the eye and ran away. She found help from Frank, in which Frank, as I already said, that his real name is common. Is the only noticeable person that I've seen in movies before, except Alice herself, obviously. So yes, she got saved by Frank, and then he did took her to hospital, in which in the hospital they wanted to put her in some sort of a home where they're gonna brainwash her, and Frank was like, you know what, he changed his mind and decided that, you know what, he's just gonna help Alice out by himself, since he don't trust the law at that point. And this was the time when it was already no more slavery. People like Malcolm X was already fighting for rights for black people. So all these people, Muhammad Ali, all those people were already in the picture fighting for freedom for black people in America, in Georgia to be specific. So Frank, even him, he was one of the activists that was also fighting for people to be free. In other words, so people were already free. Alice couldn't believe it. She had to read it by herself in order for her to believe that people were really free. Even herself, that she was really free, she had to even see it in the books and also in the newspapers. That's when she's realized that people have been living for years being free, and herself and people that she was kept with were living behind closed doors without knowing that other people are free. And I guess that tells a lot about Paul, who made sure that they don't have any radio, they don't see any TV, like they were living sort of years and years and years behind, maybe more than 15 years behind what other people, they were already moved on. They were no longer having slaves, even though there was racism, but at least no more slavery that was happening. So that was the house of Paul and Rachel, which he then got divorced with. That's how they were living. So Alice had to sort of get to reading in order for her to come back to the world to understand how much she was left behind. It didn't really sit well with her, in such a way that she didn't even know cars, she didn't even know phones that were being used, in which Frank had to even teach her how to use a phone and how to locate a phone book and all those kind of things. And that end up helping her to be able to reach out to Rachel, in which Rachel was a person who, as I already said, was married to Paul, and the only reason why Alice wanted to see her was just to insult her, to say that how could you leave us with that animal which was treating us that way? It means that you were also an animal. In which, even when Rachel entered, where they were sitting, we could already see that she was very racist. She even said that I'm here to see a Negro woman, which was very, very absurd. That the N word, I mean, you can't use that. Even for me, I had to squeak it a little bit, even though I'm a black person. But it's not a word that is very nice, especially for Americans. I can also imagine, as a person who come from South Africa, that there are words that we normally don't really use, that are very racist, and you can't use them towards black people. So yes, guys, Alice had to take it all out to Rachel, raise all her frustrations, and Rachel had to even run away by being insulted. And I think she really deserved that. But more importantly, she wanted to go back to where Paul is, or on the house where she was kept. She had to convince Frank to help her to do it, in which at first he didn't like the idea, but he ended up assisting her on that regard. They went back, and then that's when they fought back to try to rescue other people that were kept there. And they did this because they went with guns and they started fire and all that. And that's pretty much how the movie ended, while Alice ended up getting her revenge towards this monster that was just tarnishing their lives, and making sure that they don't see the light and day of any freedom or being free. Which I can assume that by the time when black people became free in America, I'm sure that it took some time or some years for people to really understand what it means after the president have announced that no more slavery in America. So it did took some time. They didn't want to really let go, as white people felt that they were privileged to own black people. And I guess that's, in a nutshell, the center of the movie. So that's pretty much it, guys. We'll meet on the next one. I hope that we'll watch more nicer movie than this. For me, for rating, just to close it off, I think it does deserve a 6.5. It's not one of those movies of slaveries that can really make you cry, but honestly, it does get you to almost get to crying by the way that Alice was being treated. So we'll meet on the next one, guys. Cheers.